You know, dang it. Just the Tuesday Bro Tuesday intro is still just my favorite intro of all time, and I love it when it works. Well, welcome everybody. Welcome back to Tuesday Bro Tuesday, the show that has kind of become, I don't know what this has become. Reading articles with GrimmGreen, talking about vaping with GrimmGreen. I like story time. I like story time with GrimmGreen / news roundup type of thing. But welcome everybody. We do have a lot of stuff to talk about today. There's one thing in particular that I kind of want to focus on just a little bit. I want to talk about the black market a little bit. There's a great article that I found. Welcome Dave Flowers, welcome Logan, welcome Addie Tooney. I see you guys there. I appreciate you guys coming out. But Beauty in the Vape, I see you there too. I see you there, Rhett Falls. There's this one really great article that I came across from a fellow named Chad Prather. And Chad Prather is a guy that I didn't know that I liked and should be following until I ran across this particular article. It came from one of those situations where it's like, I got mentioned in a tweet, and then I followed like the tweet thread, like through the reposts and through the comments to the final tweet that happened to be from this dude, Chad Prather. And so I got to this article, and he talks about a little bit about the black market and what's going on in New York and New Jersey, which I think is really interesting. Another thing that I wanted to mention, welcome Mitch. Mitch is here. Mitch Gorowitz is here. Jennifer is here. I'm honored to have you here, Jennifer. I see you on Twitter all the time. So glad you're here. I got completely sidetracked right there. So, speaking of New Jersey, one of the important things I want to mention right now about New Jersey is there's a lot going on in New Jersey right now. And I see Chloe from MTurk in the chat right now. But Chloe and Mike from MTurk, Mike Turk. Turk. I don't know if a lot of people know his name is Mike. We just call him Turk. But Chloe and Turk from MTurk, they are organizing something that's going to be happening in New Jersey. Chloe specifically has kind of taken this on a little bit, but we're going to be sending, or residents of New Jersey rather, we're going to be sending some emails. We're going to be sending some emails to some elected officials. We're going to do a good old-fashioned email blast. It's going to be one of those, it's kind of pre-filled out with some data and information, and then towards the middle, you're going to put your own story in there, and then you're going to send this off to a few elected officials. So the way that I would want to stay on top of this is get on any of your social media, find MTurk, and find mturk.net. Not just the MTurk accounts, but the mturk.net accounts. Those are the accounts run by Chloe. Over there on Instagram, it's mturk.net. I believe on Twitter, it's mturk.net as well. And they will keep you up to date with New Jersey and the good old-fashioned email blast that's going to happen over there in New Jersey. I know that there's a kind of a limited time frame for this. What are you saying in the chat there, Chloe? Chloe will be officially posting tomorrow on the mturk.net Instagram for this email blast that is going to be happening. So if you're on the East Coast, especially if you're in Jersey and all of this is concerning to you, which, you know, should be concerning to you. But if this is something that's concerning to you, you can get involved. You can follow MTurk over there on the Instagram, and we can get part of this. We can become part of this email blast. Second thing I wanted to mention, just real quickly, one of my patrons, Chessie, one of my Cool Kids Club members, Chessie, she's had Crohn's disease basically her entire life. And so she has a GoFundMe right now. And this isn't ever just going to be like, hey, give people your money and things like that. I like to shout out some GoFundMes that sort of, mean something. And especially if it's coming from one of my patrons, it's the least I can do to help out. She's only looking for the goal of $500. That's it. $500. That's all she's looking for. So I'm going to put a link right here in the chat. I will have that link as well in the description to the Chessie GoFundMe, but she's only looking for $500. I feel like that's a really, really easily attainable goal. Absolutely, Jeremy V. Chessie is awesome. Shout out to the moderators in the chat today. I saw you there, British Eyes. I saw you there, Addie. I saw you there, Jeremy V. Let me know if you guys are shorthanded and we need to hand out some more blue wrenches, but I feel like you guys got this under control. So yeah, we're doing that. We're doing Chessie, M-Turk, New Jersey. I wanted to touch on Oregon and Washington really quickly as well before we kind of get into the meat of some of these articles. But apparently the vape... okay. This is from opb.org. This is the Oregon Public Broadcasting... Oregon Public Broadcasting, Oregon. Even though this is about Washington State. That's okay. Washington State Governor Lindsley up there in Washington State, making life hard for everybody, but the Vapor Technology Association, the VTA, has officially filed a lawsuit to stop the Washington Department of Public Health from enforcing its emergency rule it approved on October 9th. The agency was responding to mysterious deaths and illnesses related to vaping across the country. Mysterious illnesses and deaths related to vaping across the country. Let's just continue to conflate issues. Let's continue to just be ignorant to what's going on and just misinforming the world. Mysterious deaths and illnesses related to vaping across the country. I mean, it is kind of related to vaping in that vaping is the verb, but it's not related to vaping. The association said the state agency acted so quickly to fail to consider evidence vaping products may be safer than traditional cigarettes. Executive Director Tony Abood of the VTA also said Washington State should have moved beyond its simplistic and ineffectual ban. While claiming that it's trying to target the problem of youth vaping, the state's emergency rule remarkably contains no provisions expressly directed at youth. Yeah, I mean, it's really very interesting how they're kind of just, and this is something that agencies do. This is something that the FDA has done, is they just continuously shift the narrative, continuously move the goalposts. It's like Washington State came out and said, the lung injuries, the young lung injuries are doing this. And then the lung injuries and then the youth sort of got just lumped in there. So now it's lung injuries and the youth. But now that the youth are involved, well, it's a flavor issue, right? So now we've been able to take this lung injuries due to THC cartridges and completely shift the narrative over to youths and flavors. And now we can finally go after vaping. And then what they're doing by finally going after vaping and having all these do-good, sort of failures of legislations is that they're not addressing any of the actual issue. I know. Jay Inslee. That's my Jay Inslee sound right there. If you say Jay Inslee's name, you just have to make the sound, and that's fine. Thank you, Matt August. We're going to talk about that in just a second. I want to talk about Dr. Sims and a little bit of the conversation we had following and prior to that really very interesting little panel thing. All they're doing now is punishing adult smokers again. This is all punishing adult smokers. That's what every state is accomplishing, is punishing adult smokers. That's going to be the outcome of all of these. Thankfully, we have the VTA filed lawsuit in Washington State today. And then real quickly, I wanted to mention Oregon. It says Oregon vape shops won a temporary stay Thursday on the governor's flavored vaping ban, putting a halt to the action just 2 days after the ban took effect. The Oregon Court of Appeals ruling appears to apply only to tobacco-based vaping products sold under the oversight of the Oregon Health Authority and leaves the ban in place on marijuana vaping products regulated by the Oregon Liquor Control Commission. So here you have the, quote unquote, the umbrella of vaping, the verb, right, of vaping being overseen in Oregon by two completely different entities. The Oregon Health Authority is in charge of tobacco or nicotine-based vapor products, and the Oregon Liquor Control Commission is in charge of the cannabis and the THC and the marijuana vaping products. So maybe Oregon can kind of differentiate that vaping is the verb and what is being vaped will land you in a different regulatory area. You know, if you're vaping nicotine, this is overseen by this group. If you're vaping THC, it's overseen by this group. If it's just all vaping, if the governor wants everybody to just avoid all vaping, wouldn't it be just under one regulatory group or one regulatory committee, like vaping? By putting it into two different groups and two different committees, they're saying without saying that what you're vaping matters. And that's what we're trying to say, what you're vaping matters. And they're saying it in Oregon without saying it. I'm not going to read this entire article, but there is one thing I wanted to read. Yeah. Governor Brown continues to urge Oregonians to heed the public health warning of the Oregon Health Authority and stop vaping immediately. Those are her words. Stop vaping immediately. That is just a really broad term. It's unprecedented, really. And this is a tangent. I mean, this is a thing that I have gone off on countless times, every vlog almost, every Tuesday Bro Tuesday, but I feel the need to repeat myself again by them saying just avoid vaping. They're doing nothing to address the issue. They're doing nothing to look out for public health. If we have romaine lettuce that is tainted with E. coli, governors and the CDC don't just say, stop eating. Stop eating. That's the only way to avoid this, is to stop eating altogether. Because of this lettuce, no eating is safe. It's ridiculous. That's insane to me. When we have tainted E. coli in cabbage, romaine lettuce, they'll say very specifically, this romaine lettuce from this particular, that's being manufactured, grown in this particular state. They're very specific about everything else that comes up. Very, very specific. Very specific. But with vaping, stop vaping. Stop all of it. We can't get any more specific than that. Stop vaping. You can't get any more specific than that? It takes you 2 months to get more specific than that? And I mean, I know, but that's Angela Garrity. That's the tinfoil hat part of it, right? Can you come out and just say, I think they want people smoking cigarettes again? You sound like a crazy person. But I genuinely think they want people smoking cigarettes again. What other result can come from Governor Brown urging all Oregonians to stop vaping immediately? You have two options after that. You go, okay, I'll stop vaping. Let's see, I still need nicotine. There's the black market, definitely. There is cigarettes. Those are your two options. They either want you to go to the black market or they want you to buy cigarettes. It's one of those two options. When you take vaping off the table, those are the only two options left. And they want us to go back to the black market that caused all of this nonsense to begin with. And all they're doing with this flavor ban is, this is something that, this is preaching to the choir, right? This is just preaching to the choir. This is just preaching to the choir right now. They want us to go to the black market. And all that they're doing by banning, all that they're doing, I'm not going to tell you, all that they're doing by banning flavors is taking the process of e-liquid manufacturing out of the pharmaceutical grade, ISO certified, AMSA certified, clean laboratory environment where these components will get mixed together to form a bottle of e-liquid that has all of the ingredients listed on it. Not only are all of the ingredients listed on it, but all of the ingredients are on file with the FDA as of August 2016. All the recipes and all the ingredients and all of the third-party lab testing that liquid manufacturers had to get done and submit to the FDA as well, those are all on file. And what you're doing by banning flavors is taking that entire process that's safety regulated right now and just handing it to the consumers, saying, no, mix all this yourself. And I get it, DIY. A lot of people do a lot of DIY, right? A lot of people do a lot of DIY, but right now it's their choice to do DIY. You get to decide right now if I'm going to continue buying Prickly Smooth from Maine Vape Co., which, by the way, that's what I'm vaping right now. You don't get that choice anymore. You can't decide to buy Prickly Smooth anymore. You're forced to go DIY. And DIY is essentially the black market. You can put whatever you want in any one of your liquids, and it's going to cause people to have poorly made liquids. I mean, there's enough information and confusion around vaping as it is right now. I mean, that's why I feel like YouTubers, exist, is to kind of steer people through these waters of like a little bit confusing, because, this vape isn't the same as this vape, which is different from this vape, which is different from this vape, actually, which is different still from this vape. And it's confusing, and it's a little bit involved, and you have to learn about it. And that's part of the process of becoming a vapor and learning and on YouTube and learning how to do these things. And in the world of e-liquid, it's the same thing. We have Wayne. Now, I know we have a few people, right? We got Fresh03, we got Wayne. See, I always go to Wayne for DIY or die, but that's just another niche inside of an already niche market, inside of an already niche market inside of Juul. It's a niche of a niche of a niche of a niche. And if a person just average, let's say that I am Nicholas Green, and I'm just a smoker as of today, right? I'm just a smoker. I don't know anything about vaping. And I'm looking into vaping, and I'm thinking, oh, vaping. That could be a thing. I wonder how you do it. Oh, it looks a little complicated, but I think I could get the hang of that, like a tank with a coil head. Okay, well, what about the liquid I need for it? Oh, I have to mix the liquid myself. That's a lot to ask for a smoker. We'll be fine. Hobbyist vapors will be fine. But that is the black market, is DIY. And if you get someone who goes, I have to mix the liquid. Okay, well, I'll mix the liquid. Now you're asking them to learn more, a longer learning process in order to quit cigarettes. Oh, you want to quit? It's going to be a big, long learning process because of the federal government. You're going to have to learn to mix your own e-liquid. And there are bad, wrong ingredients that you can add to e-liquid. And if you don't know, then you don't know. And you could add some of these things to your e-liquid just because you don't want to smoke, and just because the governor took away your flavored vapor products that you used to buy at your local vape shop safely. Now you're mixing it yourself, and you could include whatever you want, and wrong things, and poor flavorings, and flavorings with oils in them, and bad components into your e-liquid. That is the black market. It used to be regulated. It is regulated by the FDA. That's why it has to be made in a lab. And the FDA has our ingredients and all of our third-party lab testing that was done. I mean, in the prime of Namber Juice, we knew our liquids down to a molecular level. I could get you lab reports, third-party verified tested lab reports of our liquid that we had to submit to the FDA. We know these liquids down to a molecular level. Every molecule we are familiar with in these liquids, and the number of those molecules in these freaking liquids. So the ignorance card of, well, we just don't know what's in them. Well, you might not, but every liquid manufacturer is required to know down to a molecular level what is inside their e-liquids. That is the black market, or gray market, I guess. If you sell some on Facebook or you sell some on Snapchat, which apparently it's real easy to do, then that becomes the black market. That becomes the gray market. And it's not unreasonable to think that there could be someone who's going to take advantage of this, who's going to cash in, I'm going to start mixing liquids. 60 mils, I could sell these for like $40, right? 60 mils, nicotine's really expensive. All right, well, I'm going to say it's 12 milligram, but really it's going to be like 3 or 4 milligram, and it's going to be mostly VG, and I'm going to put a bunch of flavorings in it, and I don't know if these flavorings are vapable. I just bought them off of Loran's, and so I just put them all in here, and now I'm going to sell this. Some unsuspecting person who's like, I don't want to mix my own liquid. I see this on Snapchat. I can buy whatever, dank vapes e-liquid, you're going to get an adulterated product. You're going to get a contaminated product. That is the black market, and they are creating it. Not just creating it, but like cultivating it. They're building a black market on top of a bigger black market. Facebook Marketplace, sure. You want to go hang out on the dark? Let's all download the Tor browser. Head over to the Silk Road, start selling e-liquid. By the way, this is my setup for today. It is, as I've been talking about, it's the main Vape Co. It's the Prickly Smooth. This is the Nameless Mods Mechanical. It's called the Unknown. It is quite the expensive mech mod. This is $160 something, I believe. It's a honker. It's a big, heavy mech mod, big, heavy button, 21-700, and it's topped with the gunmetal recoil rebel with the frosted drip tip on there. This has just been my jam as of late. Just been rocking it like crazy. Love it. Love the crap out of it. Yeah, black market. That I think is the black market. That's how I see it playing out. And thankfully, I get the feeling, I'm not trying to give anybody any sort of false hope. It feels like we're losing, but I don't think we're actually losing. I don't think it's going to come to an e-liquid black market. I just don't think it's going to come to an e-liquid black market. I think this is going to get, I don't know. I don't even know the right word. Solved is the word I wanted to use, but there's nothing to solve. It's just the weird legislation and bans and banning the wrong thing when this is the issue. And, all of these people are speaking out on it. And we have mountains of doctors now all speaking out about it. We have this guy. We have the political cowboy, Chad Prather, talking about it, which I want to get into that. I want to start reading this article because it's a good one. It's a good article, I think, for us to all read, and I'll be giving my commentary on it as well. And honestly, there's not much commentary because Chad Prather, he's a real smart guy, and he's a very well-spoken and a good writer, like a really good writer. DIY Down Under, why aren't THC manufacturers defending themselves in the media as much as us? Are they happy that we are under attack rather than them? So the THC manufacturers are defending themselves a lot, quite a bit, actually. They are taking a very much more proactive stance, I guess, against it and their consumers, and they are telling their consumers, our products are safe. You don't have to worry about vitamin E acetate or getting lipoid pneumonia, which now some people don't think it's lipoid pneumonia. It's a whole other thing. I was hoping to talk about it in a future vlog, but no, there's not going to be a future vlog. They are defending themselves. They are defending themselves. Maybe not as much as we are, but they certainly are. They're certainly defending themselves. And like I said, it's more of a proactive thing. They're emailing their customers saying, you don't have to worry. Our products are safe. What you should be doing is avoiding cannabis products on the market. And that's the thing is, the flavor ban doesn't have anything to do with the THC manufacturing or the THC market. So it would be weird for them to interject themselves into this. You know what I mean? It'd just be weird, real weird. It'd be like if they wanted to raise national premiums on auto insurance and everybody was pissed, and then vapors were like, that's our cause too. I don't know. That's a bad analogy because I'm bad at analogies, but they are defending themselves, but it's a complicated issue, and it requires a complicated answer. And I know I keep saying that, but them defending themselves is part of the complicated answer. Anyway, let's, do you guys want to read an article with me? Do you want to just read an article with me? Because this is great. This is great from beginning to end. I think we're all really going to enjoy it. I read it the first time and I'm like, wow, that was spectacular. That was just spectacular. There simply won't be a vlog next Thursday. This Thursday, because I'm going to be in, let's read, Wes. I'm on board. There's not going to be a vlog this week because Thursday I am going to be in the United Kingdom. I'm coming, I'm going to the airport tomorrow, and I'm coming out to the UK Wednesday into Thursday, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I'll be back home. And then the week following that is Halloween. So I don't even know if I'm going to stream on Halloween. I will probably be busy giving out candy to kids. I'm assuming that's what I'm going to be doing. I don't know. I'll put a poll up or something on YouTube or Twitter or something and see, should I stream on Halloween? Should I stream on Halloween? Because that would be the first vlog back. But if I don't, then we're going to skip 3 weeks in a row of vlogging, which in that case, exactly. The black market caused this, not regulated e-liquids and THC cards, yet they want to hand it all to the black market. Not only that, Shannon C., they want to hand it all to the black market, and they want to hand all of vaping, like all of nicotine vaping, to Juul. They want to hand it all to big tobacco, which they're saying they're anti-big tobacco, and then their actions only benefit big tobacco. That's an interesting thing for a politician to do, isn't it? Be against big tobacco. Oh, this is big tobacco playbook. This is the big tobacco playbook. They're hooking the kids with flavors. This is the big tobacco playbook. We're anti-big tobacco. What's that big tobacco? Oh, you did want the whole vaping industry? Here. That's what it feels like. That's what it feels like. Okay, before we read real quick, let me talk about Dr. Sims. I was on the In Focus California on Spectrum with Dr. Sims. We talked a little bit beforehand, but it was really just about baseball. She asked if I was a baseball fan. I said, I'm a passive LA Dodgers fan. And so we talked about the LA Dodgers a little bit, and then we talked about how she thinks it's weird that Spectrum has the exclusive on Dodger games. So the only way that you can watch Dodger games on television is if you have Spectrum cable, and she doesn't like that. She's like, you can't get it over the air, and that's stupid. And that Spectrum upsets me that way. And so I'm like, well, okay, yeah, I mean, that's weird. I could see how that's definitely an annoying thing. Like, interesting, right? So then we sit down, we do the whole interview. There was the only thing we talked about beforehand was the LA Dodgers. And you sit down and we did the whole little spiel thing. And it was one of those things like, I knew what I was going to say for any possible thing they could have thrown at me. I knew kind of exactly what they were going to say before they even opened their mouths. I didn't even need to see the questions or the cue cards or the teleprompters or anything like that. I saw the host and I saw the doctor and I sat down and I went, I know exactly how this is going to go. I know exactly how this is going to go. And it went exactly like I thought it was going to go. And the one thing that the doorbell is ringing. Hold, please. Hold, please. Chico, hang on. You know what? I'm glad everybody's still here. Everybody's still here? Did you call the White House in that time? So sometimes something that happens in my house is the delivery driver will ring the doorbell, and it's an old doorbell. It's like this weird old plastic thing. And no matter how you press it, you just press it, and it sticks. So it's like inside, I feel like this guy's just pounding on the doorbell, but really I know that it's stuck. Like I know that it's... And my lights went out. Whoa! All right. I should have done this beforehand. That's fine. Much less professional over here on Tuesday Bro Tuesday. This would have never happened in the vlog. This would have never happened in the vlog. Okay, so here we are. Dr. Sims. I remember exactly what I was talking about. Let's actually, before we get too far with Dr. Sims, let's read some of these here super chats, you guys. I saw a few of them, and I appreciate that. Joe Mamba, very gracious of you. I'm going to vape at the DC protest because freedom changed my mind. You can vape. I don't care. I'm not going to be the boss of anybody. Vape, just don't blow clouds. Jeff Hudson, very gracious of you. Grim, I screwed up, got drunk off a bunch of girly fruit drinks and ended up sleeping with an overweight stingray. Am I still worthy of vaping? And is there any hope for me? What? Yeah, whatever. Yes, of course. You didn't sleep with a stingray, did you? That sounds really dangerous. Avoid aquariums the next time you're drinking, you lunatic. Brian Feeney, very gracious of you. I thought you did a stellar job in the interview. Thanks for all your hard work, Nick. Yeah, thank you. That's very gracious of you. You know, like I said, I tried my best, and all I did the entire time was driving down there was, it was like a 45-minute drive for me because it's LA and it's like 6 miles, but it's 6 LA miles, so it takes you forever to get there. And so we go through this interview, we go through the whole song and dance. And the one thing that I didn't get to reply to, that I replied to later on Twitter, was when she mentioned, she's like, yeah, vaping is like, people that cut themselves and they cut their skin for that release. That's, but they don't go all the way. And that's, Wayne put a clip of it up on Twitter, and there's a clip of it floating around Instagram. And I was you could hear maybe my eye rolls in that. The reaction shot that they showed of me like nodding along was not the reaction. That was not my reaction to what she was saying. That was not my reaction at all to what she was saying. And that is, Dr. Sims, that is insanely disrespectful to people that actually have mental health issues, that deal with cutting themselves and dealing with these suicidal thoughts. It's incredibly insensitive for her to say that right after Suicide Awareness Month. She brings up cutting and compares vapors to cutting. I thought that was just incredibly, incredibly bad tastes. She should feel ashamed for saying that. I hope when she watches back that interview, she just feels ashamed, because that is insanely disrespectful to the people actually going through that. It's not just some casual teenage thing like, I'm just going to cut myself. No, it's not like that at all. I've had friends who have dealt with this. I've known many people that have dealt with this, and depression and cutting and suicidal thoughts. And I think for Dr. Sims to make light of that, especially talking about something as serious as vapor products and tobacco control, just seemed completely unprofessional, and surely even so disrespectful, it's disgusting. And surely she would agree that cutting yourself is certainly better than death. Cutting yourself, she was making a harm reduction point whether she wanted to or not. Cutting yourself is certainly better than the option of ending your own life, Dr. Sims. Come on. How in bad taste could you have possibly made that segment? How much more in bad taste could you have done that? And so that upset me into the ground. It's something I didn't really get to reply to. The way that the host kind of worked the questions were, she would ask this person, she would ask Dr. Sims a question, and then I'd be listening to hers. Okay. And then she would ask me like a related-ish question, to the point where I never really got to reply directly, I felt, to Dr. Sims, with the exception of that one time that I interrupted her when she was talking about propylene glycol and long-term propylene glycol inhalation. And I lead forward and I was like, are you really more concerned about long-term propylene glycol inhalation than cigarettes? As a doctor, you're more concerned about that. And then the host kind of had to like be like, okay, well, and I said, I'm sorry, I apologize. Like, sorry, that was my little fly off the handle thing. I didn't even really fly off the handle that much. And so the vibe that I got from Dr. Sims, and just doing that whole interview and talking to Dr. Sims, really kind of like opened my mind and like opened my eyes to exactly what we're up against, like the amount of misinformation that we're up against. And it's not even, here's the thing, I don't even think it's their fault. I think Dr. Sims is just ignorant to it. I mean, obviously she's ignorant to it if she called a jewel pod a capsule. Did everybody catch that terminology? A capsule. You know, there's enough nicotine in one of these capsules, make your head pop off. Capsules? So not using the correct terminology, bringing up things like diacetyl in e-cigarettes. Here's my big takeaway from Dr. Sims. As ignorant as she was to the subject of vaping, literally every aspect of it, from the liquid, what's in the liquids, what a jewel pod is called. She didn't know. I talked to her afterwards. She didn't know the different types of nicotine that are used in different vaping devices. She was just very, 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 very ignorant to it. And it's because her and a lot of doctors have this really very old school like way of thinking, like this old way of thinking where they don't understand vaping. And I'm not even talking about just the technology or just what's in the liquids or, you know, the 95% safer from or less harmful from the Royal College of Physicians, from Public Health England and Public Health New Zealand. Apart from not understanding any of the separate components of vaping, they just don't understand the act of vaping in general. Just the fact that it even exists is confusing to them. Why would anybody want to start using nicotine? She has this very like cut and dry thought process. You know, it's either you're a smoker, and if you want to use vaping, you can only use vaping to quit cigarettes. And in that case, you can only use vaping if it's approved by the FDA for the exclusive use of quitting cigarettes only. It's like vaping has to fit within these really antiquated like guidelines, like these really antiquated, ways of being. She doesn't understand the idea of a user of nicotine, being a cigarette smoker of nicotine and desiring to get your nicotine somewhere else, and then recreationally using that nicotine, much like you would recreationally use cigarettes or cigars or pipes or tobacco or chewing tobacco or snus. Use it recreationally and self-administer your own doses of the correct amounts of whatever nicotine satisfies you so you don't have to smoke cigarettes. The entire concept of vaping, the entire concept of self-harm reduction, the entire concept of it is lost on them. And we're not going to get into like the intricacies and delicacies of this really complicated issue, really complicated question that requires a really complicated answer unless we can get them through that bubble of, I don't understand why anybody would vape to begin with. They don't understand this like recreational side to it. She saw it as a negative, and this is something we talked about after the interview, but in the interview I mentioned Ralph's and the birthday cake flavored vodka and how it's an adult choice issue. And then later outside when we were talking, she's like, the vape industry, she was like, I don't know if you were around for this, but the vape industry did have the choice to be regulated back in 2009, but they fought it. And I said, I know. I was there. I was a part of that lawsuit. It was the Enjoy lawsuit. And the reason that it got fought wasn't because we didn't want to be regulated. The reason it got fought is because the government wanted to regulate us as a pharmaceutical product. And if the government had regulated us as a pharmaceutical product, there would be Nothing right now. You wouldn't be watching a stream because GrimmGreen wouldn't exist, because I'd be working at Starbucks, because there would be no vaping. There would be one Mike Bloomberg vaping FDA approved product. That's the path we would have gone down if we were classified as a pharmaceutical product. But we didn't. We fought back, and Judge Leon turned us into essentially a tobacco product, like a recreational tobacco product. That's technically what we're classified as. And I was very all familiar with this. And she thought that ruling was, I don't know, the worst thing that could have possibly ever happened. The worst thing that could have possibly ever happened. She's like, but the vaping industry decided they didn't want to be regulated, and they wanted to be a traditional tobacco, a recreational tobacco product. And that's why we're in the situation that we're in right now. And and this isn't calling out her in particular, although it is her fault. She, along with a lot of these stuck in their ways old doctors, just simply don't understand vaping as a whole. I don't want to run the risk of repeating myself. I just don't. I'm tempted to, but I'm not going to. She just sees it as this clinical thing. It's either smoke, and if you don't want to smoke, you can vape to quit. But if you vape to quit, it has to come from the FDA, and it has to be FDA approved. That's the only acceptable way to vape, is if it's FDA approved. It has to be this clinical, medical, systematic thing, instead of being treated how we're treating it, more like beer, more like cigarettes, more like alcohol, right? Adult choice things that may or may not be good for us, but that doesn't matter, because as an adult, it's our choice to decide if we want to pick up any of these vices. If I want to drink myself to death as an American, you know what I can do? I can drink myself to death as an American. I have the freedom to be stupid. I have the freedom to make mistakes, and I have the freedom to go to the Ralphs and buy a handle of birthday cake flavored vodka and just drink myself into a blackout in the bathtub if I want to, because I'm an American and that's my choice. It should be our choice. Should be our choice, damn it. Should be our choice. Okay, who wants to read? We've wasted, not wasted. We've utilized 45 wonderful minutes here, but let's get to reading, because I'm dying to read this. I'm dying to read this article from Chad Prather. Here, I'm going to put his Twitter in the chat right now. I'll put his Twitter down in the description as well. I'm going to put the link to this particular article into the chat right now in case anybody wants to read along with us. And I'm going to put that in the description of this video as well. Let me get all my burps out. I've been practicing reading, but I'm still going to mess up. It's hard for me to read because I'm a dyslexic, and I dyslex. That's what dyslexics do, I think. They dyslex. Dyslex. It's a made-up word, Nick. That's not even a real word, Nick. How rich am I? How rich am I? I don't know, 0? Whatever the most is. You want to know what's in my bank account? I think it's like $600 or $700 right now, because I just bought a pool vacuum on Amazon. Well, doctors can't ban cigarettes. They can't. Green-eyed lady, they physically can't ban cigarettes. It's written into the Master Settlement Agreement. Cigarettes will never be banned in the United States because they've been grandfathered in. The FDA grandfathered them into this new era of regulation. So cigarettes, thankfully, will remain accessible to all adults. FDA-approved cigarettes will still remain accessible to adults, and they will never go away. It's technically impossible to ban them. Oh yeah, FDA only approves safe products. Chantix did not cause a few hundred people to kill themselves. That's not what Chantix did. That is a safe FDA approved smoking cessation product. If you want to quit smoking, do it with an FDA approved product. That's the kind of thinking that we need to get rid of. As Siegel said, was it Siegel? I think it was Siegel. We need to instill, I can't even remember the whole thing, instill doubt in the tobacco policy machine or something like that. We're going to bang the drum for adult choice. I mean, if you mean rich monetarily, no. But if you mean rich with reward, then yes. I'm overflowing. I have too much rewardly riches to even handle right now. I feel so rewarded by what I do. I feel so rewarded by you guys. We are going to do this. We're going to win. We are going to win this. And we're on our way. We are winning. This is going to be great. This is going to be great. Okay, so let's really tuck in. Let's really tuck in here and do some serious article reading. So I'm going to be reading today from Chad Prather's Political Cowboy website. New York vaping ban blocked by a judge, so they're adding a 20% tax on products instead. Yeah, this is all stuff that I kind of didn't really super know about, and let's all read it together. Yet another shockingly... Look, I didn't even get through the... Oh, we lost audio. That's right. I hit the wrong button. I was muted. I said I'm going to be at the rally on the 9th, and anybody that's there will get free stickers from me. As many as I can bring, as many as I have. I'm just going to give out a ton of stickers. That's not your incentive to go. But it could be a little bit of incentive to go. Look, if someone's sitting on the fence and they're like, I don't really know if I want to go to this rally. It's like a 6-hour drive for me. What? GrimmGreen's going to be handing out stickers. Let's pack the bags, honey. Let's go. We got to get to this rally. Could be. That could be the thing that pushes the person over to going to the rally. So now let's get back to this article. Now we have audio. I apologize for my reading. It's going to be messy. So here we go. New York vaping ban blocked by a judge, so they're adding a 20% tax on products instead. Unbelievable. Tell me all about it, Chad Prather. Tell me all about it. Yet another shockingly unsurprising bit of news out of the Empire State. I know. Something they couldn't ban, so they're taxing the ever-loving expletive out of it instead. After a handful of reportedly vaping-related hospitalizations and deaths, particularly among young people, rallied the gentry to grab their pitchforks and demand an end to the demon vapes. Governor Cumo imposed an executive action banning all flavored juice or e-liquid products except for tobacco and menthol, which, is a great idea if you want to add redundancy to a law already on the books that bans people under 21 from vaping, and if you want to send thousands and thousands of adults back to cigarettes, all while undermining and insulting the legislative process for passing such laws in the state. I just love that so much. Governor Cuomo undermining and insulting the legislative process for passing such laws in the state. Thankfully, vaping trade groups were able to launch a successful legal attack on Cuomo's highly questionable ban with an appellate court panel imposing a temporary block on the ban. The freeze on the ban, enacted just one day before the ban was set to take place, will remain until the Supreme Court in Albany decides the case brought by industry trade group Vapor Technology Association. VTA, VTA, VTA. We are very pleased with the state of New York, with the New York State appellate Division's decision, which acknowledges the strength of our claims about the state's executive overreach and which preserves the ability of hundreds of small businesses to remain open and continue to serve their adult customers, Tony Aboud, executive director of the association, said in an email statement to Reuters. When King Andy didn't get his way in going outside the legislative process in banning the sale of flavored vaporizer juice products, naturally, he did what a New York politician does. He taxed it into oblivion and imposed another layer of bureaucracy on business owners. Effective December 1st, 2019, the new 20% supplemental sales tax will apply to retail sales of vapor products in New York, according to the State Department of Taxation and Finance. The tax is collected by a vapor products dealer. Beginning on December 1st, 2019, I didn't know about this. Did anybody else know about this 20% tax? I had no idea. No idea. Beginning on December 1st, 2019, any business that intends to sell vapor products must be registered as a vapor products dealer before making sales of vapor products. In other words, yet another industry is likely to be muscled out of the state, seeking greener, less totalitarian pastures in which to do business, and folks who can't afford to pay at least 20% more for their vaping needs, and given my first-hand experience seeing it successfully used as a smoking cessation tool, I do say needs, will likely go back to smoking or resort to black market products, because that's how prohibition expletive works. That is how prohibition expletive works. PA has 40% British eyes? You serious right now? PA has a 40% tax? Nothing compared to PA's 40% tax. I'm kind of surprised it was only 20%. I just here, Chloe, I'll put it back in the chat if anybody wants it. For those watching on the replay, it will also be down in the description down below. Now, many of y'all might be wondering why this is such a big problem. Vaping is weird, and it is apparently killing people, so maybe banning or severely restricting it is one of the good things New York has done. No, not even close. As I previously wrote, vaping liquids made with quality, industry, self-regulated ingredients and used with proper devices are not killing people. Black market THC-laced products, which are already illegal in New York, are killing people. And even then, they've killed a few enough people to count on two hands among the tens of millions of vapors in the country. Shy of a legitimately unbiased, read, not paid for by a tobacco company or any of its beneficiaries or political bedfellows, long-term study on the safety of vaping, the fact that folks have been doing it for over a decade without dropping dead, black market THC vapes notwithstanding, is good enough for any grown adult to consider when deciding to put into their own damn bodies. Yes. Yes. See? Chad Prather. I had to scroll back. Look at this political cowboy up here. Chad Prather, you political cowboy. Fantastic. Furthermore, what's this? HR 2339, federal online vape purchase ban. All right. Thank you for that, Michael B. Haven't looked into that at all yet. I know there are a few federal flavor bans going through. There are so many vaping related bans going through that I don't know that a lot of them are going to have really the legs to stand on. We're only going to see as things move forward. But if you follow Greg Conley, either on Facebook or Twitter, he was talking about this on Facebook earlier, and that, well, you have to just go see what Greg Conley said. I can't paraphrase it because Greg Conley is very articulate, and I am less than articulate, and I would just butcher what he said about these federal bills. Whoops. Here we go. Now we're back here. Furthermore, the New York flavor ban is pointless when it comes to its official purpose, which is to keep minors from vaping. Pointless. The Heartland Institute. He has two examples here from the Heartland Institute. The Heartland Institute examined the effects of flavor bans, finding these measures have no impact on youth e-cigarette use. For example, Santa Clara County, California banned flavored tobacco products to age-restricted stores in 2014. Despite this, youth e-cigarette use increased. In the 2015-2016 California Youth Tobacco Survey, 7.5% of Santa Clara high school students reported current use of e-cigarettes. In the 17-18 CYTS, this increased to 10.7%. Which shows you, I mean, that shows you so many things. That shows you that, I mean, we know, looking at it through my lens, I can see, well, yeah, of course. If you ban flavored tobacco products to age-restricted stores, kids are buying Juuls from the convenience store, Juuls from online. So banning flavored vapor products has nothing to do with Juuls and them getting them and them using them. Has nothing to do with it. That's why it didn't do anything. Furthermore, flavors have helped millions of adults transition from combustible cigarettes to tobacco harm reduction products. Indeed, a 2018 survey of nearly 70,000 American adults noted that 83.2% and 72.3% of survey respondents reported vaping fruit and dessert flavors, respectively. Further, only 20% of respondents reported using tobacco flavors at point of e-cigarette initiation. And that's another one of those really interesting things where you see, wait, how do we know what show it is? There it is. Now you know you're watching Tuesday Bro Tuesday. Yeah, get your fix on Snapchat. Get your fix on Snapchat. And that's another thing that just makes me insane is there's big news media outlets like Vice reporting on this, and they say things like only 3% of adults vape, but 30% of youths vape. Only they downplay the adult numbers and scale up the youth numbers to make it seem incredibly out of whack. But even for this flavor study in 2018, they got together 70,000 American adults that were current vapors, ex-smokers. 70,000. So that's at least 70,000 that they managed to get together just for this one study. I can't stand them down. I can't stand it. I know how Alex Jones feels. Alex Jones, I know how you feel now. Unreal. Never thought I'd empathize. But I do. So let's get back to it here. As the Heartland Institute continues, we all know what happens when just about anything is banned or overregulated. The black market will provide. Back to the Heartland Institute. Further, such bans will likely produce a big uptick in business in black markets. A 2012 study in the journal Addiction found a quarter of menthol smokers surveyed would find a way to purchase, even illegally, menthol cigarettes if a ban comes into effect. Even worse, there is little evidence that such bans would help smokers to quit. A 2015 study in Nicotine and Tobacco Research concluded that only 28% of menthol smokers would give up cigarettes if menthol cigarettes were banned. Albany County residents and New Yorkers in general are already all too familiar with the crazy consequences, intended and unintended, that come with heavy regulations and taxes on tobacco products. Because of its exorbitant taxes, New York City is currently the cigarette smuggling capital of the nation. All you guys in New York, you should just be proud. You should just be so proud. With a booming black market that was attributable to approximately $740 million in lost tobacco revenue in 2015, Albany County has also been subject to black markets even without the proposed ban in place. As recently as October 11th, 2019, New York State tax investigators seized more than 7,400 untaxed cigars and 3.6 pounds of untaxed loose tobacco in Albany County. In spite of the temporary block in the state's flavor ban, health department executives remain optimistic that their chokehold on New Yorkers will only be momentarily loosened. While the court's ruling temporarily delays our scheduled enforcement of this ban, it will not deter us from using every tool at our disposal to address this crisis. Crisis. You can count the people that have died on two hands. Do you know how many people have died today from cigarettes? Way more. You know how much money New York lost today in tobacco taxes? Even more than the amount of people that died from cigarettes. Give me some of that prickly smooth. This battery's dying though. This battery's dying and I need to change it because that's what a mech does. A mech kills batteries and then you gotta change them. Yeah, exactly, Addy Tooney. That's 100% accurate. Yeah, about 1,300 died today or will die today from complications of smoking-related death and disease. 1,300. 1,300 people die a day from cigarettes. Has everybody forgotten about cigarettes? Did everybody forget about cigarettes? I feel like everybody forgot about cigarettes. People don't understand smoking. People don't understand vaping. And, you know, these doctors that don't understand vaping, it's like they don't understand addiction. You know, there's just simple things that they just can't grasp. It's like, no, you're wrong. That's not the way an addict's mind works. You'd know if you would talk to somebody, you know? While the court's ruling temporarily delays our scheduled enforcement of this ban, it will not deter us from using every tool in our disposal to take away your liberty, said State Health Commissioner Howard Zucker, according to the New York Post. Make no mistake, this is a public health emergency that demands immediate action to help ensure the well-being of our children. Can I just read? How creepy is that last sentence? How weirdly authoritarian, totalitarian, tyrannical politician sounding does that sound? Make no mistake, this is a public health emergency that demands immediate action to help ensure the well-being of our children. Vaping, the product that got millions and millions and millions off of traditional tobacco cigarettes. Now this is a public health emergency that must be stopped for the well-being of our pocketbooks. Children. Did I say pocketbook? I meant children. Children. So just for a recap, repeat after me. Black market products may have killed a handful of people. Millions of people have been vaping for over a decade with no apparent issue. Vaping is already illegal for children. Flavor bans and exorbitant taxation will not keep minors from vaping. They will only hurt adults who rely on vaping to quit smoking and shop owners who rely on it for their livelihood. And Andrew Cumo is an expletive. Thanks, Chad Prather. Thanks, Political Cowboy. Actually, that wasn't exactly from Chad Prather. That was written by Alyssa Duval. It's just posted on Chad Prather, politicalcowboy.com. Oh, new mech battery? Give me that. Give me that new mech battery feeling. So I put a link to this down in the chat. I put a link to this down in the description. This was just one of my favorite things that I read. And it's just, I love that last paragraph so much. So just for a recap, black market products may have killed a handful of people. Millions of people have been vaping for over a decade with no apparent issue. Vaping is already illegal for children. Flavor bans and exorbitant taxation will not keep minors from vaping. They will only hurt the adults who rely on vaping to quit smoking and shop owners who rely on it for their livelihood. And Andy Cuomo is still an expletive. Just one of my favorite articles ever. Just one of my favorite articles ever. I'll share it again. I'll share it again real quickly in the chat here in case anybody wants to read that, share that around. Yeah, that is great. That is fantastic. Okay, so I don't have much time left. And I can't read the long article. I can't read the long libertarian article, but what I can read is a little bit more about nicotine. You want to read a little bit more about nicotine? Who wants to hear a little bit more about nicotine? I know. See, that's the great thing, Chris Payne, is it doesn't, whatever expletive you can think of, the wildest expletive you can think of, that's what he is. Just don't say it. But whatever you think of. Nicotine plus nicotine. Yeah, let's read about our old friend nicotine. No, we can't do the long one. It's too long. It's really very, very good. It's really insanely good. I'll try to save it. We'll make it top priority for the next Tuesday Bro Tuesday. But it is insanely good. Okay, it's actually not that long. No, we're going to save it. And we're going to do a little bit more nicotine. You're very welcome, Timothy. I don't know what you're thanking me for. GrimmGreen and Dash Rapes, thank you for sparking the fire inside me, even when I feel burned out, repeating to closed minds the same facts over and over. Timothy, welcome to being an activist. That's all that it is. That's all that you do. You have to assume that almost everybody you're encountering in your day-to-day life is uneducated on the topic of vaping and on the topic of tobacco harm reduction. And the problem is when people ask about vaping, there's no quick, simple answer, is there? There's nothing. What do you say? Oh, it's so I don't smoke. Oh, okay. Is it bad for you? Well, so no. I mean, yes, it is, but not as much as you'd think. You know, you have to get people, you can't explain vaping and tobacco harm reduction without first getting them warmed up to the idea of vaping and the idea of tobacco harm reduction. So, well, according to the Royal College of Physicians, if you compare vaping to cigarette smoking, it's at least 95% less harmful for you. If you compare vaping to just breathing in clear, pure oxygen, then yeah, there's a little bit of harm involved in that. It's a little bit risky, but it's far less risky, far order of magnitude less risky than smoking. Hang on, Alex Jones, hang on. I will never understand this. Did I rant about this in the last Tuesday Bro Tuesday? Because I think I might have as well. I will never understand this. I will never understand the idea that you think that vaping is somehow worse than the known killer cigarettes. This, vaporizing propylene glycol and pharmaceutical grade nicotine in a personal vaporizer, is worse for you than literally taking plant matter, organic plant matter, drying it out, rolling it in paper, lighting it on fire, and then inhaling the smoke of the burning organic plant matter. Any doctors? Anybody? You guys remember cigarettes like at all? Inhaling the smoke of burning organic plant matter is less harmful than vaping. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills, right? But it's organic. It's organic, Dash Vapes. It's organic, such a buzzword. Let's go have some American Spirit lights. And that's another thing that I saw on Twitter recently, or I saw on Instagram recently, is American Spirit cigarette brand. They have this ad out now that's like American Spirits, no batteries required. And like people got really mad at that. And I kind of thought it was honestly really, 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 really funny. I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was some like, you know, if all of this wasn't going on right now, like if we had a thriving vape market and we had, you know, a cigarette market and those two markets were allowed to exist, you know, in the United States, and, you know, free adult Americans get to decide which one that they would like to use, if that was the way that it was going, and they did that little ad campaign, you know, nudge, nudge, ribbon you a little bit. Hey, no batteries required. Still causes cancer. No batteries required. I thought it was funny. I thought it was hilarious. People got really mad. You know, we need to learn to calm down a little bit too, and be able to roll with the punches and have a little bit of a chuckle now and then. And we definitely need to calm down on Twitter. I've seen a few people on Twitter. I don't want to talk about the Amelia situation with the Wall Street Journal and the bot thing. There was a very misguided person on Twitter that was attacking Amelia, who is a huge tobacco harm reduction advocate. She's brilliant. Was attacking her because he just simply didn't understand the tweet he was reading. And so he went into this rage and called her all sorts of names, and it was a shocking display to see someone named something vape guy just ripping into an advocate. I mean, like derogatory names, simply because he didn't understand what he was reading. And so I think that our emotions and our tensions are so high right now that a lot of us are kind of just waiting for that straw to break the camel's back. And in those times, when those times come for me, just pump the brakes. Take a weekend off of Twitter. It's the best thing you can do. Just take the weekend off. Nothing really happens on Twitter on the weekends anyway. You don't have to be on Twitter on the weekend. Here in Europe, we are called bots and AstroTurf back in 2012 during the TPD Twitter wars. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is, they have to rely on tactics like that because they have nothing else. They got nothing else. They got no science. They got no logic. They have no reasoning. They're probably, there's governors probably sitting in their office going, "Oh my God, yeah, that we do allow birthday cake flavored vodka. How are we going to convince them that nicotine is worse?" They're panicking. They are straight up panicking. Some of these states, you guys, they're going to default on their tobacco bonds soon. Like before the end of the year soon, they're going to start defaulting on those tobacco bonds. And that's, respond, don't react, adapt, apt. Michael Scott. Nailed it. But they're down to the bottom of the barrel. They're down to the bottom of the barrel of things that they can use against us. And just the fact, exactly, that's Alexia Prince. That's what we call grabbing at straws. Dash Vapes reminds me of when Ben told me he started getting death threats after the ABC 7 article. Take a step back and respond in a way to represent the community. Ugh. Dash Vapes in there with just the pearls of wisdom. And that goes for everything. That goes for the rally that's happening in Washington, D.C. on the 9th. There's probably going to be anti-protesters there. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there were lots of orange truth t-shirts there. Probably kids on parade. Probably anti-vape protesters. And the trick is, we have to treat them like trolls on the internet. I feel like I've been preparing for this for the last 10 years. You have to treat them like trolls on the internet. You either A, ignore them, or B, just agree with them. And then their argument's over. If someone from the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids or the Truth Initiative comes up and starts talking to you or counter-protesting at you, just agree with them. Just go, okay, yep, yes. Can you leave me alone now? Yes. Okay. That's the best response you can possibly give. Don't yell, Certainly no, that even goes without saying. Goes without saying. No Antifa tactics. No Antifa tactics. This cannot be the Antifa. We cannot be Antifa of vaping. We are better than that. We are way better than that. Exactly. Trolls only react when you feed them, which is why when I get huge, awful comments on my YouTube videos, which has been happening a lot more recently, I just ignore them. It's hard to do because in that moment you just see red and my face turns red and I want to just unleash, and then you don't. You go, fuck that guy. And you go and make a sandwich and you have lunch. That's what you do. Yeah, Michelle Lynn, PA, 40% vapor tax. Okay, so while we're here, while we're whittling this down to the last 15 minutes, thank you, Addie, for putting that link in the chat. DC Vape Rally, it's UnitedVaporsAlliance.com. I got a burp, I think. Let's get back to reading. Let's read a real quick article on nicotine. This comes from the Royal Society for Public Health. This is obviously out of the United Kingdom there, as it were. Let's read about the RSPH over there in the United Kingdom, shall we? The Royal Society for Public Health is an independent health education charity and the world's longest established public health body. The world's longest established public health body. Our vision is that everyone should have the opportunity to optimize their health and well-being. Man, could you imagine if FDA came out and said that? And they're just like, hey, our vision is that everyone should have the opportunity to optimize their health and well-being. That would be incredible. That would be such a change from the FDA going, no, don't do that. Don't quit smoking without us. Don't quit smoking by yourself. You can only quit smoking using, put that down. You can only quit smoking using FDA approved products. Don't quit smoking the way that you find pleasurable. Stop it. Put it down. Yes, put it down. That's what it should say outside of the FDA's headquarters right now. Put it down. Just stop everything. The only way you're going to be healthy is if you're just not alive. You're just coming to the Ultron conclusion. The only way to save humanity is to destroy humanity. That's my really bad Ultron. That's the first time I've ever tried it. You know, I kind of drifted into Robert California a little bit because James Spader does both of them. Anyway, let's read about nicotine. I know how to optimize my health. You ready? Here's how I optimize my health. I try to eat right. I still eat a lot of sugar, but I'm trying to cut down. I've cut liquor and beer almost completely out of my diet with the exception of maybe once or twice a week. Every 3 hours, I do 12 push-ups. That's just what I do. I make sure I at least get 4 or 5 sets of weights in outside, and I do push-ups throughout the day. Also, I quit smoking 10 years ago with vaping. That's how I have optimized my health. Let's read about nicotine. Let's read about nicotine from the RSPH, whose only goal is that everyone should have the opportunity to optimize their health and well-being. What do you have to say about nicotine, RSPH? Look at that headline. Nicotine, no more harmful than caffeine. No more harmful than caffeine. This is dated 2015, which will either to an anti that would be, outdated, right? That's not new. We need new. This isn't FDA. Yeah, right, Clay. This isn't FDA approved. This isn't FDA approved. We need newer science than this. We need newer data than this. Or you go to the other side of the coin where you say, look, we've known this about nicotine since 2015, probably way earlier. Way earlier. You can't claim ignorance to nicotine. Like, we've been studying nicotine for decades. Decades. We've been studying nicotine. We're very familiar with nicotine, except nobody seems to know anything about it. Just waiting for that movie, Aaron. Aaron, Still waiting for that movie. Nicotine is no more harmful than caffeine. RSPH is calling for public confusion over nicotine to be addressed as a way of encouraging smokers to use safer forms of the substance. Tobacco contains nicotine along with many other chemicals, but nicotine by itself is fairly harmless. Nicotine is harmful in cigarettes largely because it is combined with other damaging chemicals such as tar, arsenic, and as highly addictive substance, getting hooked on nicotine is one of the prime reasons why people become dependent on cigarettes. Electronic cigarettes and nicotine replacement therapy, gums, lozenges, and patches contain nicotine but don't contain the harmful substance found in cigarettes. Is this just a refresher for everybody? Alarmingly, RSPH research reveals that 90% of the public still regard nicotine itself as harmful, and the organization is now calling for measures to promote safer forms of nicotine products to smokers and make it harder to use tobacco. See, they're making it harder to smoke cigarettes and easier to vape. The United States is making it harder to vape, but way, way easier to smoke cigarettes. Among the measures which are being called for in its report, stopping smoking by other sources of nicotine, introduction of a smoking exclusion zone around pubs, bars, and schools, allowing use of e-cigarettes, but not allowing cigarette smoking. Now, I'm going to continue reading this, and I just want you just close your eyes and imagine that we live in the America that we think we live in. Imagine that we live in the America where it really is liberty and justice for all. Imagine we live in an America where you just have the most freedom and the most liberty and the highest quality of life, you know, a quality of opportunity, just the land of the free. Imagine that America, and imagine that this is how it could be in our perfect America. Introduction of a smoking exclusion zone around pubs, bars, and schools, allowing the use of e-cigarettes, but not allowing cigarette smoking. If smoking was banned from outside pubs and bars, 50% of adults would be more likely to use these areas, and roughly 1/3 of smokers would be more likely to use alternatives to cigarettes, such as e-cigarettes or NRTs. Greater utilization of e-cigarettes by smoking cessation services. Only 3 out of 134 stores selling tobacco also sold NRT products. Mandatory sale of nicotine replacement therapy in shops selling cigarettes. In one study, fewer than 0.5% of retailers sold nicotine replacement therapy. Almost 3/4 of the public, 70%, support mandatory sales of such products. Imagine this is our America. Imagine that. Licensing of all purveyors of cigarettes so that local authorities can remove the license of any retailers found not to be acting in accordance with tobacco legislation such as age restrictions and the display ban. Renaming e-cigarettes nicotine sticks or vaporizers to distance themselves from e-cigarettes. Could you imagine that in the United States of America? Could you imagine Ned Sharpless? Could you imagine Ned Sharpless going up there and saying, look, anywhere that is selling cigarettes has to sell NRTs and e-cigarettes. You just have to. Instead of in the United States right now, we see racks of cigarettes and then emptiness next to them, and little signs that say, due to public health concern, we'll no longer be carrying vape products. I feel like we've gone farther in the opposite direction than we've come. You know, I feel like we're so far in the other direction. It's almost like we're coming back around again. It's just so far in the other direction in the United States. Shirley Kramer, CBE, chief executive of RSPH, said, over 100,000 people die from smoking-related diseases every year in the UK. In the United States, that's 480,000 people every year. But in the UK, it's only 100,000 people. only 100,000 people. Over 100,000 people die from smoking-related diseases every year in the UK. While we have made good progress to reduce smoking rates, 1 in 5 of us still does. Most people smoke through habit and to get their nicotine hit. Clearly, we would rather people didn't smoke, but in line with NICE guidance on reducing the harm from tobacco, using safer forms of nicotine such as an NRT and e-cigarettes are effective in helping people quit. Getting people onto nicotine rather than using tobacco would make a big difference to the public's health. Clearly, there are issues in terms of having smokers addicted to nicotine, but this would move us on from having the serious and costly public health issues from smoking-related diseases to instead address the issue of addiction to a substance which in and of itself is not too dissimilar from caffeine addiction. Wow. Very cool, Shirley Kramer. Very cool, Shirley Kramer. Very cool, RSPH. After reading that article, I do feel like I have the opportunity to optimize my health and my well-being. What a great article. I'm going to post that in the chat right now. I'm going to put it in the description of this video as well. And I think, I don't know what that was, but I think that's where we're going to go ahead and end this here vlog today. I had some other things I wanted to talk about, but it's literally like 2 minutes. I'm just going to save it. I'm going to cut this short. I'm going to be streaming with my patrons right after this on Instagram. I'm going to have all the links that we talked about in the description to this video so you can go back and reread along with me, or you can just listen to the vlog and it's like an audiobook version of vape articles. And that I think that's actually pretty kind of cool. Oh yeah, let's do these. Let's finish up the super chats here. Appreciate you guys all sticking around. Appreciate you guys all super chatting it up. Very much appreciate that. So where did we leave off? That's right. It was Brian. I thought you did a stellar job in the interview. Thank you for all your hard work. It was my pleasure. And look, I was nervous. I was beyond nervous. As soon as I sat down and she started talking, I instantly became unnervous for some reason because it felt like being on a YouTube video, honestly. I get nervous before I come stream. I get nervous before the vlog. I get a little bit nervous before Tuesday Bro Tuesday. But as soon as it starts and I get into it, I go, oh yeah, I know what I'm doing. I know how to do this. So I was really, really nervous, but just went away as soon as the camera started rolling. Just completely went away. Logan exhales, very gracious of you. Freedom. Yes, freedom. Yes. For British eyes only. Head out. Standing up. He's here. Take me to the UK. I can't take you to the UK. Even though you have British eyes, I can't take you to the UK. He's here. I'll have to show you guys an Instagram video. I'm going to post it on the Patreon Instagram. It's hilarious. Andrew, very gracious of you. Save the children. Ban candy on Halloween. Candy is a hell of a drug. Great job handling that simpleton. As far as I'm aware, PG is in asthma inhalers. Yeah, it was and still is, but it's not the predominant thing used in asthma inhalers, but it was for a very, very long time. In fact, PG, propylene glycol vapor, is actually an antimicrobial vapor. They used to sort of pipe it into elementary schools during flu season to literally sanitize the air. There's videos of this on YouTube, and it's really bizarre when they're pumping, propylene glycol vapor into these schools, but they're like, this PG vapor sanitizes the air during flu season. It was one of those really old ones. Thank you very much, Dash. Thank you very much, Dash Vapes. Look, I know your real name. I just like calling you Dash Vapes. Thank you, Dash Vapes. I literally love seeing Dash Vapes in the chat. Literally love it. It's one of my favorite things. Parafoot05, it's not much, but it's something. All the best. Cisco. What? Cisco? Is that really Cisco? Are you really Cisco? Parafoot05? Either way, it's very gracious of you. Justin Dahl, very gracious of you. Got another one from Joe Mamba. My wife's a doctor, and before I switched to vaping, she did a bunch of research, and she even tried it herself. She agreed that it was safe as long as I don't do it around her. I'm fine. She's never smoked. Yeah, and you know what? There's even a... Riccardo Pelosa out of Italy put out a 3-year study on never smokers and never vapors that picked up vaping. Yep. That study exists. I'll try to track it down. It's somewhere in my bookmarks, but it's a thing. It's a thing that exists. I'm glad your wife's a doctor, and I'm glad that she told you to vape. That makes me so stoked, Joe. D. Wade, very gracious of you, brother. Very gracious of you. Carl Clifford. Hey, Nick, any idea what the release date of the Grimm kit is? I can't find it in stock at any of the regular online shops. As always, thanks for what you do for the vaping community. No. Here's the thing. China works on a different schedule than the United States does. So if I need to ask something of Hell Vape, then I have to wait until like midnight to ask them. So we get our communications kind of random and infrequent. The last time I had talked to Jean from Hell Vape, she said the end of September. We're obviously way past that. I know I talked to Dwayne recently, and he said that they're going to be on the Recoil RDA site at the end of the month, like by the end of the month. That's the closest time frame I can give you, by the end of the month. And if not, then I'm sure it'll just be a few weeks. Anyway, appreciate that, Donovan. Very gracious of you. Didn't say anything, but that's for you. That fist bump. Got another fist bump for Cass Zook. Very, very gracious of you, Cass Zook. So there we go. We got through the super chats. We got through the articles. We had a great Tuesday, Bro Tuesday. There was no rage sweat, although I do empathize a lot now with Alex Jones. And don't forget, you guys, the rally's coming up on the 9th. We are going to win this. It's going to take all of us, and it's going to get worse before it gets better, and it's going to get ugly, and it's going to get gross. Going to get real gross, but we are going to win. We will overcome. Even if we get pushed into the underground of the black market, they cannot run from the science forever. This is why we need to bang the drum for adult choice. It's an adult choice issue. Yeah, exactly, Cass. UK pays for healthcare. US doesn't. Big difference. It is. It's a huge difference, but really, it's not that big of a difference. The United States government is supposed to protect the well-being of its citizens. The United Kingdom government is supposed to protect the well-being of its citizens. It's just that the United Kingdom is doing a much, much better job right now protecting the well-being of its citizens. And the United States, well... I mean, I'd use the word dumpster fire, but it's been used so many times, it just loses all meaning. It just loses all meaning. The United States right now is like a backed up toilet. That's how I would describe it. Fucking backed up toilet right now. UK doesn't have that MSA and blood money either, Ruby Roo. You're exactly right. Well... happy to have you, Dash. Happy to have you. Welcome to America. It's a backed up toilet and somebody lost the plunger. It's a backed up toilet and somebody lost the plunger. So that's where we're going to go ahead and end this week's Tuesday Bro Tuesday. As always, thank you guys. Honestly, seriously, so much for watching. Tomorrow I am flying out to the United Kingdom, so there won't be a vlog this week. Next week is the vlog that may or may not be happening on Halloween. Not really sure what's going on there, but remember, this is an adult choice issue. You have the right to choose a less harmful alternative to cigarettes. We are going to win. We are the revolution. We are the revolution. I know. I look so unprofessional with those tattoos. I did. I'm just tattooed trash. Look, that's why I don't go on TV a lot. Yeah, but Dr. Sims doesn't need to know that I poop naked. Or don't poop naked. I don't poop naked. United we vape, together we vote. We are the revolution, you guys. Thank you guys seriously so much for coming out. And no matter what any crooked politician tells you, no matter what Dr. Sims on Spectrum in Focus, California tells you, you absolutely, absolutely should keep on vaping. Peace out.